Neil Nicastro, not Nick
That's right.
Nicastro.
Either way, I'm answering.
Neil Nicastro, buddy, how are you doing? It's been so long.
Yeah, for a super long time, right? Um, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm in the land of weddings now mostly, so I disappeared a little bit in the music scene,
Well,
but I
it's
still am putting out stuff all the time, you know.
yeah, well, it's funny you say that because I feel like the last time I saw you in person, face to face, where we spoke was probably I want to say it was like 2013, 2014 at the Scranton Cultural Center at a wedding expo.
Oh
I
yeah, right.
I think, and we were talking about a band called Biffy Clyro.
All right.
That's it. That's all I have. That's what I remember the last time we
Yeah,
spoke.
that was probably so when the 5% ended, I started scratching my head and wondering, what can I do? And I thought, well, weddings, it seems like that's the way musicians graduate to try and make some more money.
Yeah.
And also thought well, maybe I need to go back to school and get my master's or something. With the bachelor's, I never used, not for a day, but anyway, so I don't know why. So tossing around ideas, and I was um, playing bass in a band, and my buddy came up to me. He's like, "Man, what are you doing? How come you're playing bass?" I'm like, "Oh, just looking for work." And he said, "I have all the DJing work and wedding stuff that you can handle." I'm like, "All right, I'll give it a shot." And like kind of eased into it. And that was when my son was born in '08. So that's when I started easing. It's probably then the 5% probably ended in 10, maybe, I
Okay.
think, you know, and then that's when I started shifting gears, and now I'm full out. That's my main focus. I still play. So I'll play for ceremony, and I'll sing and play for cocktail hour, and then I'll DJ the rest of the night,
Oh, so you
and
get
it's
both.
fun.
You get both. You get
Yeah,
the That's nice. That's nice because a lot of
yeah,
people have to buy or pay for the ceremony and then after the fact too.
yeah,
Like the
yeah. It's
DJ
fun.
part. Yeah.
It's a good shtick. I like it.
That's
I
sweet.
enjoy it. I feel like you feel like you're doing something. Like it's part of people's. It's an important part of people's day, a year, or lives, right? That's an important day.
Yeah.
So if you can, and I'm in the groove now, man. I really try hard, and I'm super organized and stuff, and so I think I do a good job. So
I love weddings, man. The weddings are like my favorite thing and I cry probably at every single one of them because like at least for that day, right? Like no matter what happened prior, no matter what happens, 5 years down the road, like that day, like that's the happiest that couple and their family and their friends are going to be like in that moment. And like, it's like an
yeah,
emotional thing. Like for me, it's just like, it's happiness, right? It's like such a great day.
yeah. And now you probably haven't been to one since you have a little girl, but now that's it. You'll be balling the whole time. I have a
Yeah.
little girl too. I have a little girl too. So every father daughter dance, I'm back there crying.
Yeah.
you know? I mean, like I don't, I barely know these people, and I'm like, oh my
I
god,
know. I know. Well, it's funny because
but
DJ Hirsch has asked me to MC a few weddings with him. I think was it last year? No, the year prior I did one with him. Last year I had to bail on him a couple times, and this year he booked me for four or five, and he's already replaced me three times at my request. I just think I'm not. I need a few beers to get in the like not knock the rust off. But it's
yeah,
funny. It's like, dude, like why would you want to share any kind of the money you're making with me when he could do it himself? Like he's very talented. He could just no problem doing it himself. I guess he just doesn't like it gets kind of I don't know scared or he just doesn't want to do it. And
right.
so I've been on a couple with him, and yeah, it's
It's a
just
long day, of course,
yeah.
too, and I just worked with the wedding coordinator this past weekend. It was her first. She was a family friend, but she was coordinating for them. She said to me, do you like working with the wedding coordinator? I said, sure. Of course, I have a couple wedding coordinators like Electric City that are my friends, and of course I do, because then I'm there and I have somebody to talk to.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I get there at noon and I'm leaving at 11 o'clock and I haven't done anything but talk on the microphone to a
Right.
crowd, and
Right.
like, yeah, I mean, so it's nice to have, which is a huge contrast from playing in a band, right? Because playing in a band, especially like the 5%, it was so much camaraderie and so much about just being together and making music together. And then this is definitely a stark contrast to that.
Yeah.
But where we're all playing together and engaged with each other, and no one in the audience cares. And now it's the opposite. Now I'm all alone, but the audience cares.
Right. Right.
The wedding.
Yeah, us talk about. I mean, I've only known you. Like that's how I met you. Was you playing out in northeastern Pennsylvania with the 5%. I don't think you were part of a band before that I may have known. Right.
You were probably too young, but I was in the collective.
The collective.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. Right. I had a feeling
yeah,
about that. Yeah. I don't know if I
yeah.
saw you at the
So
collective or not.
I was the first one to pull the ripcord on the collective because I was getting older, and I really wanted to be writing tunes. And the collective was we were a train, man. We were doing so good. It was hard for everybody to step away from the cover thing, even though we all kind of wanted to. And I just needed to do, and actually that's a funny story. I don't know what directions you want to go, but
Any direction.
yeah, right.
One
We were
direction.
yeah. We were playing, the collective was playing, and Matt and Brian were doing an opening set for some reason before us. And I was just sitting in the back, and I heard Matt singing I heard him singing like a Damien Rice tune from, like, I was behind the stage and heard him singing. I came out, I'm like, who is this? What is this? I'm like, I quit. I want to play with him, And it was really like, I mean, it was really like that. It's like, I got to stop what I'm doing. And of course, Brian Keating's the nicest guy on the planet. He's like one of the top 5 nicest people. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was just such a good vibe and such nice times and stuff. So yeah, despite the collective being really successful and stuff, and super fun, those guys are still my friends. I just wanted to do the original thing, and and that was the perfect catalyst for it. So I was in another band before that, the collective, actually, that did really well too. Um, that's a long story, that they got a record deal and stuff, but this is a billion years ago. And you know yeah, and things were, I feel bad for my students now. I still give guitar lessons and piano lessons, and these guys like Tyler, from the Holtzman Effect, Tyler Salick, the guitarist, he's been my student and my buddy for a long time. And I think, man, so many more opportunities we had to play than they do. You
Yeah.
know, I really feel for them. Because right, the 5%, and that was a good time. We'd always, I mean, of course, we were playing covers to keep people entertained, but we were playing originals every night, and there just was so many gigs. It was a good time. I'm super thankful for it. You know. I don't know. I mean, I guess they have nothing to compare it to. So, and I think guys, the Holtzman Effect, I think they're doing great. Um, and there's still so many great bands around the area. I think our area, we're lucky, you know.
For sure.
But I don't even know. I'm drifting away here. What
No,
was there a question?
no, we were just talking about the 5%, and you mentioned Brian and Matt Ralph, and I remember
Yeah,
seeing them when I first started at the Weekender. They were an outfit called 6 Second Yellow, and I
yeah.
was one of the first bands that I was like introduced to as a member, as an intern with the Weekender. And we did like a night out with them, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then they kind of called it quits.
Right.
Um, but it was fortunate, because you guys started the 5%, which was you, Matt Ralph. Was Brian included too?
So um, when we first started, it was Dylan Skursky was the bass player when we very first started, but it never, Dylan from Cabinet, but it never
Yeah.
lasted. Like he was not that interested in it. But Matt Smallcombe was the drummer who played in the collective with me, and so I was trying to steal some of the guys from the collective, because they were my buddies,
Mhm.
um, but that fell apart pretty quick. And then Brian, and then that unit with AJ on drums and Brian, that unit formed pretty quickly. But it wasn't the original. The original idea was um, to be a little funkier than we ended up being. Like if you hear the first album, I had this idea of more I don't know, Incubus or Police like, and and then we started playing, and people really liked the stuff that was much more Dispatch and Jack Johnson,
Mhm.
and like really liked it a lot more. So we, and then of course when Brian came along, that was Brian's vibe, and we ended up heading in that direction, and people liked it. It went pretty well. So um yeah, and so that's the direction we headed more, and that's when it was me, Matt, Brian, and AJ Jump. That was the main unit, and of course Tommy Winder played with us for a long time too. I don't know if you knew Tommy, which is
I don't know.
he, he was in Nowhere Slow then after the 5%, and he passed away. Geez, fairly recently, 4 years ago maybe. I
Oh,
don't know.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I'm familiar with that. Yeah, that's a shame. I knew the name sounded
yeah,
familiar. Yeah. But you guys had some decent success with the 5%.
we did. We put out we put out um, 4 albums, and we put out two of them like right away. Like we put out one, the one was songs I was writing and with Matt, and um, that was like sort of just to kick off the band. And then when I got the vibe of what people liked, that second album and that third album we wrote right away and put out. And then the fourth album we put, and those middle two albums we did great. We toured all over, which, man, I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. We got in the van, and we had somebody booking us, and we went back and forth across the country and had good times. I mean, some nights we were in Boise, Idaho, and like they're like, "There's no band tonight. It's game night." Like no, man, we're in Half Brown, like down the street. Like we have to play tonight.
Yeah, we're
Like
playing.
yeah, you
At
have to
least give
give
us
us
some
some
beer.
food. Yeah, yeah. There was plenty of nights that we're playing for PBRs.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we were able to do it. We were able to go um, from Vermont to Florida a couple times, and we were able to go out west, all the way out west once, all the way up to Seattle and down through California once, and out to Texas and back a separate time too. So we made a couple of good runs of it and sold a lot of CDs and got a couple songs, placed here and there. Uh, but it doesn't amount to anything but a couple good stories,
Right.
unfortunately. Um, and some good memories, of course, too. But you
Well,
know,
I mean, it's great music, and I cheated a little bit here. And on Spotify, and maybe the dates or the years are wrong because that sometimes happens. But the one album or EP, 3,483 seconds of your life, and then our life, and then making some sense of today, and then a
yeah,
summer Sunday morning at dawn. Those are the four you mentioned, right?
yeah, yeah. And then the last one was another COVID thing. I uncovered some tracks just on a hard drive that Matt and I had been working on, um, and I just put them out. Some scratches, and
Is that
some of them aren't the.
is that 5,000 days ago?
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, those
Yeah.
are
So,
just me.
I mean, I'm hoping that we can revive a little life for the 5% because I mean, it was great music. It was great seeing you guys perform. And it was just a special time, I think, especially in the music scene in NEPA and obviously beyond. But you guys were a staple.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was a good time. There was a good core of bands around that time that were putting out some really good original music. I think and like I said, like I think there is now still. I think we're lucky, and I think that's one thing I found out for sure. Touring around the country is that, man, our area is pretty good. And I wouldn't have realized it if we hadn't done it. And of course, when you're 22 or 18, 20 to 25 or whatever. Like, man, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
This is everything else. Anywhere is better, but there's really a great music scene, and there's so many great musicians in this area for whatever reason. Maybe our location
I
close
don't
enough
know.
to the city and close to Philly, but
I don't know what it is. I remember when I started the radio show back in 2017, I always say that I thought I had my finger on the pulse of what was going on and like the bands in the area. And I always say too that I was mistaken. Like I found so many new artists and like I was like, wow, I can't believe that this music is coming out of northeastern Pennsylvania. And it still rings true today. And it's like I said before too, it's a shame that there are a lack of venues to play at because I mean, I think a lot of musicians, if they're here in this area, it's hard to get shows outside of the area potentially. And I mean, you kind of work the hometown crowd, and you kind of test some material maybe, and there's just not a lot of places to play. I mean, I feel like I say this a lot, and it's the V Spot, the Jazz Cafe in Plains, which thank God that's still
right,
around. Um, and there's like maybe two other ones that I can't think of at the moment, but there's not a lot.
right.
But I mean,
I know,
you were in the scene where there was, I mean, in one night you can go to four different places to see four different genres.
right.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
we could play in Wilkes-Barre or Scranton Friday, Saturday, sometimes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some of them are acoustic gigs. And in Monday, we had with Dustin, I had that the back the River Street Ale House, right?
Yes.
That was
Yep.
in Pittston. We did those Mondays for years, and they
Yeah.
were packed. I mean, like, and we were
There was
just having fun and goofing
yeah,
around.
there was a day of the week for like every like location had like a day of the week.
Right,
Ale House
right.
was Monday, Old Time Charlie's was Tuesday. Well, Mondays was also Hiles. I'm sure you're familiar with Hiles.
Oh yeah, that's where I
R.I.P.
am.
Hiles.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I forget like Wednesday was something, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday was just like wild card.
Hmm.
Just like it was nuts. But yeah, what a
Yeah,
great time to be alive. And
yeah.
Murray's. Let's
Right.
talk about Murray's. Like,
I know, right? AJ still sends us some joking texts once in a while, like, "Hey, you guys Murray's this weekend or what?"
yeah, and I love
You know?
the every year the yearly Thanksgiving post that AJ
Yeah,
still does.
I know he does.
That dude. I mean, so my wife is 4 years younger than me, and it's so funny too. It's like 4 or 5 year like um what do you want to call it? Like spans where like if I'm 5 years younger than you, like you experienced an entire different like scene than I did, and then I experienced a far different scene than my wife did, and like it's like constant. And I don't even want to say it's evolving because I don't know if it's evolving as much as it is like just kind of I don't want to say dying because that's not fair either, but
Right.
it's just weird. It's definitely weird. I mean, I don't think kids and I don't know if they don't care about music or they're just more health conscious or maybe they're just partying at home and doing that kind of stuff. They're
Yeah.
obviously drinking and driving is not okay to do, so that's a hindrance as well for people to go out and enjoy themselves. So
Right.
it's a lot.
I think it's all of that.
Hmm.
Right. I mean, it's everything you just said. I mean, right? People are, uh, I mean, I think when we were playing, I mean, I met my wife when I was playing in the band.
Hmm.
There was no other way. That's how we were meeting people,
Yeah.
right? So instead of being able to meet and communicate, I think my son is upstairs, like playing with his friends online instead of getting together and hanging out. I
Right.
mean, he's having a blast. Whatever. I mean, or you and I are talking right here instead of being at Hiles having a beer.
Yeah, but because they're
So
upstairs.
yeah,
That's because
yeah,
they're
right.
upstairs.
That's right.
If I have two
So
children, I mean, I do this at night and when they're in bed and sleeping. Like,
right, right. But
if I
yeah,
had
I
children,
think
I'd probably be
that's
out.
got a big thing to do. Yeah, that's got a big thing. I think that's a big part of it is that you're not going out to the bar to meet people. That's not your main. I feel like that. And I do think the drinking and driving thing is a big part of it. Yeah, I mean, You could Uber though,
But they have
you know.
Uber,
So
which
I
is
don't.
amazing. Like, I mean, I wish I
I
had
know.
that back then.
I know.
You
I
know,
know.
like, can you imagine just having like uh, a ride that wasn't some creepy taxi driver? Like,
Right.
because like
Yeah, that would have been
that was
great.
the day. Like back in the day, if like, oh, I'm not taking a taxi, I might get murdered in a taxi.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. I don't
But
know. So it's hard to say. You know, I do think because um, it's funny. Like right now, when I'm DJing too, when I'm DJing weddings, so there was a spot where it wasn't like this, but right now, I'm DJing a lot of stuff. I mean, like uh they do this that emo night, right?
yeah,
Those are bands, right? That they're DJing. Like when I'm DJing weddings, people love that stuff. I'm
yeah,
thinking, man, like Blink 182 and Jimmy Eat World. Like I don't know, these are bands. There should be, and there are, bands out playing it, but there's no reason there shouldn't be bands out there killing it all the time, packing places, just um, covering that stuff. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's because like when a DJ is. So I think this, there was a point where when people started bringing out cell phones and recording the bands, like and then all of a sudden they're recording themselves instead of recording the bands.
right.
And so I think that there's something about a DJ can put the focus on the crowd, and people are used to that. Like, because obviously I think about it a lot because I do both still.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
And I think that that's one thing people enjoy more about a DJ than a band. A band is like, hey, look at us, and the DJ is like, hey, let's all have a party.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe once the bands catch on, that sort of shifts, and bands come back. And maybe if they legalize pot, people will go see live music again. I think that a lot too.
They should.
But
I did an episode with AJ and Joe Burke, and I think we attempted to solve that problem and found a way to legalize marijuana with a campaign called "Pot for Potholes."
yeah,
We wanted to legalize marijuana to fix the streets,
yeah,
solely
it
based on
would do
that.
it.
And if anything else happened from it, maybe people go see some music now, then so be it. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
they
don't
let
know,
us
man.
they let us play jazz finally. They tolerate it. but uh but
It,
yeah. Uh,
I don't know, man. It's like so you guys. I mean, 5%. You called it quits. So what happened there?
it just it just fizzled out really. I mean, we did push. We put a good run at it. And Matt, the guys were at Wilkes, and they graduated, and Matt was off to grad school, and we still kept it going. Matt and I still kept it going, and that's how we ended up with that fifth album of tunes. He kept it going. We kept it going out in Pittsburgh. He was in Pittsburgh, and I was driving out there, and we were playing still quite a bit. And our buddy Mike Figured was helping us book, and some of that time is when we did some of our biggest shows. Actually, even though the band was sort of not alive anymore, that's when we played at Penn Peak, and we did a couple shows with the Gin Blossoms and that MTV Tracker tour, and that was all Mike getting us those gigs. We had a good like resume at that point, even though the band was sort of didn't exist anymore. So we were doing some really cool shows, um, and it seemed like we were doing better than ever. But we kind of didn't really exist anymore. And then then I had kids, and I started to think, boy, I need to. Matt was over it, and I was thinking, I started to think I need to maybe get a job, or make some more money,
Yeah.
and what can I do? And so then there was I had a couple years there where I was playing a lot by myself, like solo gigs and DJing, until I shifted my focus more on the DJing stuff. And I still since I stopped. I mean, I still play. I do like the Poconos resorts during the week. So like tomorrow night I'll be at Cove and the next night I'll be at Paradise Stream or whatever. And those gigs are great, like during the week.
Yeah.
But then my weekends, I'm focused on wedding stuff. Um, but also I'm still putting out like since the 5%, man, I don't know. I put out six albums or something. I don't know.
Right.
I just write a lot. It's my favorite thing to do, and it always has been.
Yeah.
I practice jazz and I practice fingerstyle guitar and stuff. But really, what drives me is ideas. I get writing ideas, and um, I don't know. Like I really appreciate you did the Pop Coast picks. You put me on there the one time, and man, I'm so busy. Since I sent you those tracks, I probably put out another 20 tracks. I just don't even have time to promote them or do anything with it, which is a shame because
It's
I
tough.
really
Yeah.
appreciate. Yeah, Alan Stout puts the stuff
Mhm.
on the radio too. I appreciate you guys so much. I think it's awesome. And but man, it's just like your kids, between kids and work, and I still am teaching a lot. There's only so many things you can do.
I know, man.
So
It's yeah, you're right. It's a lot. And I say that a lot on this too. It just I don't know how people find the time. Um and it's a shame too, because like, you're only young once, right? And you have to try and do all these things and try and like, I don't know, not make it, but like do all these things before you have to grow up. Um
right,
and then it's a shame that like, people like, you're in a band and some guys do it sooner than others, and it's like kind of like, okay, well, what are we gonna do and all that kind of stuff. It's just like I wish, and we're only young for like, it's not a lot of time if you think about it, right? Like you're kind of
yeah,
under your parents' rule, so to speak, like until you're 18, and then like you maybe have like 4 or 5 years to kind of just like
yeah.
find yourself and figure things out before you have to like get a job or whatever it might be. Maybe a little longer, but like you don't have a lot of time,
It's true.
you know?
Yeah, that's really the truth. Yeah, because I mean, when you're in college, I think you're so confused and so lost and scattered. Anyway, I was. When you start to find a focus between, you know, knowing what you really like to do and enjoy, and then right, trying to take on some responsibility. You're right. It's probably 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
of a gap there, you
I,
know?
I extended it a bit. I found my wife I was 25 when I met her. She was 21, and she decided to be in school for a long time. So like we had kids like late. I was 35 when we had our first. So like I extended the the
Yeah.
responsibility to a degree. But yeah, I still had responsibility when I turned, 23 or 24, whatever, full-time job and something you have to be at every day and, be on time for and all that kind of bullshit. It's just like you don't get a lot of time to fuck off.
Yeah, it's
So
true. It's a shame. It's a shame. Yeah, I could certainly use some more, right now even.
I just want the energy back just to deal with like everything. It just
Right?
and
Yeah.
it's funny too. I was talking just with a coworker today or yesterday. It's just like, and this day and age too, there's just so much like going on in the world, that we have access to, and 24-hour news cycles, and phones in our hand, and like there's a lot that we're trying to like comprehend and take in and absorb and kind of deal with. Like 20 years ago, like what were our biggest issues? Like, if you didn't watch the news, what was going on in the world. So maybe you went to school and you're the biggest thing to try and figure out was where you and your friends were going, and who was buying the beer. And it was just a lot simpler in that aspect because there was just nothing else going on.
Right. Yeah. But I do think so I live in a much bigger, like I live in a bit of a music bubble myself compared to my wife. My wife's like, she stays much more connected and in touch with what's happening. Um, and I don't, she'll always say to me, "Did you hear about this thing that's going on?" I'm like, I don't know. How would I hear about it? I'm either
Yeah.
teaching guitar lessons or learning songs for a wedding or organizing a playlist. Like I just don't, and I'm a, I don't try and, I think, yeah, I'm not trying to ignore anything, but I think for like my mental, like I like to run, and for my mental health and stability,
Yeah.
I feel better just doing the things that I like and ignoring, because there's so much, of course, that you could stress out about. But yeah, I stay pretty even keel by just living in my music bubble as much as I can.
Yeah.
For good or for good or for bad. I don't know. You know?
There's been, and I don't know if it's just recently or not, but it's just like I feel like I need to take a break from social media. And then they just put out,
Yeah.
they just did a new platform called Threads. I don't know if you jumped on that or not, but it's just like
I haven't yet.
how
Did you do it
I
or
did.
I
Well, it
know.
was simple. I haven't. I think I posted twice on it. I don't even know what the hell was going on there.
Right.
Like much like TikTok, I'm like, I don't know how to use this. Like I use it for as a consumer, just for I think a lot of people are very funny. But I'm like, I don't know how to utilize this for good. Like I just, and again, I don't have, you know, you wake up, you get the kids ready for school or whatever they're doing. You go to work, you get kicked in the dick all day, you come home, you
Yeah.
do dinner, it's bath time. It's like let's maybe play some Nintendo with the kid, and then you read books and
Yeah.
go to bed. It's like, and then
Right.
you just do it over
Right.
again. It's like God, I don't know.
But I think like this is what I think about this. What we're doing here is like for your sake. I think this is cool, man. I feel like you're doing something. Like I don't know. This is why I record so much, and I
Yeah,
say this to my students that write songs and my friends. Like a friend of ours just passed away, Bobby O'Connell. I don't know if you knew Bobby. He was a great
I don't think so.
keyboard player from Scranton, but he I think, man, I wish I got the chance to record with Bobby. Because I don't know, when you put stuff down, when you're putting stuff out there, I think you could put a stamp on the day or the week and say, hey, man, I did that. This is what I did.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. We had a good conversation. We had fun, and like, there's something to that, saying I did something. I feel like that about and I think that is great about social media in that respect. Like sometimes I'll post, I'll just like learn something that I think is cool and I'll share it. But so I think it is great for that aspect. Um, but yeah, I don't know. But you can't get too I think you can't get too wrapped up in it. It's easier for us to separate ourselves from it too. But I don't know. How do you do it if you grew up with it being such an important part? I don't know. How do you put it in perspective? I don't know.
that's why one of my biggest concerns is like we grew up where half our life we had the internet, or half we didn't have it, and then half of it we did, right? And then well, it's kind of more towards more internet than not. I'm thinking back when I was 32, because I think I got the internet in our house when I was like 16. Um, so obviously I'm 40 now, so I've had it longer than not, right? But our kids are gonna that they're not gonna know anything other than the internet. I
Right.
think if it's utilized for good. I mean, it's a powerful tool. It's educational. It's you have stuff at your fingertips, and learning tools that you can't learn in a classroom sometimes. It's kind of neat to think about.
Yeah. All right. I mean, so and I everybody's my kids are completely different. I'm like you, I have a boy and a girl. My son is smart as could be, and he knows like he's just like knows history facts and stuff that like because he likes to watch YouTube videos about history and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just like if we go on a car ride, we just went to a Yankees game and he'll spend the whole time rattling off like just random history stories. I don't know. And my daughter will go outside and skateboard in the street for a couple hours. They're like polar opposites,
Yeah.
you know? Uh, but there's no, and so I wish she would spend more time inside studying and he would spend more time outside goofing around. But there's no, we're raising them the same. There's
Yeah.
no, there's no, who knows what people gravitate towards and how these kids will sort it out. I mean, right. For me, I'd rather like every chance I get, I will sit on my back porch with the guitar instead of scrolling Instagram. You know, I don't know. Even when I do scroll Instagram, it's either for guitar or running inspiration mostly,
Sure.
or business. Right? It's
Right.
been great for promoting wedding stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know where do we frame all that stuff? It's definitely hard to negotiate. I don't know.
Yeah. I'll never forget my son like knew every dinosaur's name.
Yeah.
It could say it better than me at like 2 years old, and I don't know how. Because like when I grew up, there was like five dinosaurs, right? It was T Rex, Brontosaurus,
Right.
can't think Triceratops, like whatever it was. And like I'm like,
Yeah, pterodactyl maybe.
yeah, like when did they get when did 20 pop up? What's going on here? With
Uh-huh.
the
And
the
how would you
naming.
find out about more? You'd have to go to the library. We used to go to the library and get a book. I don't know. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
we sound like old guys. I'm older
No,
than
but
you,
like
but
you're right. But
you
like
know.
he's like 2 or 3 years old saying these names of things I never heard of before.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so it's great for that. I don't know. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. You know,
Well, as far as the 5% kind of comes to a halt, and then you kind of focus on writing your own stuff. Um, what was that like? I mean, you said you love to write, you love to do that. I mean, what do you write about? What are your songs primarily about, or is it a wide range?
yeah, it's a pretty wide range. And maybe that's been to my detriment. It's like even if you looked at the last stuff that I released, um, it's just me on either piano or guitar and vocals. And then before that, and it's real like sort of dark, I don't know, and folky. I try not to be dark. It's so easy to write dark stuff,
Yeah,
and I'm not really dark. I fight it if I am. And so I think I always try and so that's one perspective I always try and write from, and know that it's easy to visualize stuff and frame stuff that way. So I always try and put a positive twist on stuff, and I always try and catch the vibe um, that I like. But I think the funny thing is, right, this last album was real folky. The album before that was like techno-y stuff,
hmm,
but they're still folk songs, but they were like they put techno beats and stuff. I'm doing so much of that, DJing and watching people dance and have a
yeah,
good time,
yeah,
that I'm like, man, I'd love to make some stuff that people would dance to. Like, I don't know. I'm really, the truth is, uh, especially because I barely promote it. If I had time, I would love to. I'm really doing it because I just have the passion for it,
right,
and really mostly entertaining myself. Like if I sit back and like, oh, those words are cool, I'm happy. If I
yeah,
take a guitar solo, I'm like, that was cool. And I do, of course, you want, it'd be cool if you said to me those lyrics were cool, or you said to me, oh, nice guitar playing. Of course, we're musicians. We like a little affirmation or whatever. But honestly, I really do it with no expectation, but just anytime I hear a song that I like, or a new artist that I like, or a vibe that I like, I think, I'd like to be doing that. Uh, and I'm all over the place. Like I think most people are, musically. I'm sure your musical tastes are all over the map,
yeah,
and so nobody's telling me. I mean, maybe if there was a manager or a label or anything, now they'd say, well, you can't be doing like a techno song and a reggae song and a folk song. But nobody's telling me that. I'm just doing it because I like to. And the funny thing is, of course, now I think I'm a way better writer than I ever was, and a way better musician than I ever was. Uh, but so you think, man, if only I was writing like this when I was in the 5%, or if
right,
only I could play this well when I was in the collective, like maybe we could have done better. But yeah, so of course you think that stuff. But uh, I'm doing good. I'm busy, and I'm happy. So I'm just glad that I really I'm glad that I stuck with it, because I do think this last batch of songs that I put out, I think are my best songs that I've ever written.
That's good.
And yeah, it's like that's all I want. I just want to listen back, because I think we probably. I'm not speaking for anybody else, but I would guess this, that when I haven't put in the 5% stuff in a long time, I haven't listened to my early stuff. But when I think back to it, I think, we probably would have done better if they were better songs. And then I listen, I remember it fondly, experience wise, but think to myself, I wish I was better, like I just said. But then I listen back to it and I'm like, yeah, you know what? Those songs were pretty good. And some people like them, but you judge yourself harshly based on lack of success or whatever level of success you had. And so now I'm completely aware of that. And so I don't judge what I put out at all based on that anymore. Um, because I don't need anybody's approval, because I'm not doing it for I'm doing it for myself.
Right.
And right, it would be awesome if like I don't know, right. I sent the songs to Matt and Brian. I'm like, you guys gotta check this stuff out, and Brian, of course, like, it's like, man, I love it. This is great. Matt's like, oh, I'll get around to it. Man, like, you got to hear this stuff. And then, I get excited, and then it goes away. But,
Well,
that's the way of it.
Well, I think that's another a cruel joke that life plays on us too. Like, we get to a point where, we mature and we, our talent grows, right? But like you said, like, what if I had this back when I was in the 5%, like when I was 22
Yeah.
or whatever it might be? Like, again, it's like you have all this, like, the maturity and life lessons and all these things you can kind of, apply to music, but now you have less time to do it.
Yeah. And less audience, right?
Yeah, just
less.
It's an evil joke.
It is. It is.
I don't know. But no, like,
Yeah.
it's funny because a lot of musicians and people, they judge success by, did they make it? Did they get a record deal? Did they do this? Did they do that? But like, I mean, I consider you a successful musician because you've done the bands, you had some national recognition, but now you're writing music for yourself. You don't have to entertain, so to speak, anybody. You're also you're an instructor of music as well, so it's like you're able to. Not everyone gets to like have music be their life and use it to pay the bills, and
Right.
you're able to do that. And I think
Yeah.
that's success.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm completely aware of that. I'm super thankful that, my Texas say musician, and I'm able to support my family
Yeah,
doing it. I mean, I think that's that keeps me satisfied. And of course, but of course, the thing that drives me to play is and write. It's like, man, I still like will hear a song or hear a guitarist and be like, man, I can't believe I haven't written something like that, or I can't believe I can't play like that yet. It's still
yeah,
like I'm totally. It's a funny balance, which I'm sure for most people have, but yeah, it's a funny pursuit. Music is a funny pursuit like that, because you certainly can wrap yourself up in. I don't know why we do that to ourselves, right? I'll say, I'll hear a classical musician play. I never practiced classical guitar, but I'll be like, oh, I can't believe I don't know all those Bach pieces. Like what am I even doing to myself? Like, you can't possibly know like all the jazz tunes, all the Bach pieces, write songs. You can't, like, so why, like, I don't know. I just am, but it's the pursuit. It really is. I mean, I guess that's trite or whatever, and people will say that, but with music, more than anything, it's the pursuit. Like when we get off, I sat down here early while I was waiting to log on, just playing my guitar and enjoying playing it. And when we hang up, I'll be doing the same. I just like to do it.
yeah.
I mean, whether I'm focused or whether I'm just making noises. I mean, really, probably my favorite thing is to just make nice noise.
Yeah.
like noises that I think are cool. And
Well, not
that's
everyone
what
can
it
do that,
really
you know?
is.
Yeah, not everyone can do
Yeah.
that. And it's I always say there's like people have like a certain part of their brain that I think is able to access that and uh just kind of do that kind of stuff. And I don't have that. Everyone says, "Oh, you can learn. It's not too late," and it's far too late. It's far too late.
Yeah. Well, what it's like if you get, I mean, right now, so this is what I think is if you're it's just about getting to that headspace, right? So if you get there now because you're really enjoying doing the podcast, you're there. I mean, this is your
Yeah,
space.
yeah, for sure.
I think that like I did have a student ask me that, say like, man, you seem like you're pretty well adjusted. Like, you know, I'm like, right, because quickly enough I can get to the headspace where I'm happy, and it's by either going for a run or playing guitar, and I know that that's my space where I'm like, everything is good up there, everything is good, and let's try and figure out this tune.
Yeah,
My dogs, it's starting to thunder here, and my dogs are going to crowd around.
yeah. I must have been heading north because it just went through here a few minutes ago.
But yeah, so I think, right, I think so, right, when you're not doing your podcast, if that's something that's your space, when you're not doing it, we just think, oh man, later on I'm going to do this podcast, and feel pretty good. I'm almost at episode 150 or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Whatever,
yeah,
where we are, like, I don't know. To me, that's so, like, if it's a stressful day and I'm sitting in traffic, I think, when I go home, I'm going to sit with my guitar and what was that thing I was trying to figure out? You know what I mean? Like, just like you could just get there, and I think you could just find peace during the day in those little. There's space up there, I think, to just bury yourself and
yeah.
and get away from stress. I really think you just, like, so you have it,
Yeah,
you
you're
just
right.
you know
It's just different. Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, what kind of advice would you give to, maybe someone younger listens to this? And I mean, obviously, again, I, I, I feel that you're an accomplished musician. From the works that you have recorded and they're available on the streaming services, the 5%, your solo stuff. Um, but again, you're able to be a full-time musician and get the bills paid, all that kind of stuff. Is there advice you can give to somebody who is maybe just picked up a guitar and they think one day, hey, I want to, like, get a record deal, or, hey, I just want to be able to have music be a part of who I am for forever. Is there any kind of advice you can give?
Yeah, for sure. And I do it all day long. My first student of the day today, Joe, he's a great like guitarist. He's only 16 or 17, and he's like, if you can only if you can only convince people of these things, like, maybe he believes me, maybe he doesn't, but yeah, I have a couple students like that. I have my students in Burn the Jukebox. I'm sure Kelly and her daughter. I teach a couple of those guys, the guitarist and the keyboard player. Those guys are doing great too. But I think that the real answer is, what the short answer is just be easy going, man. Just, if you have to learn tunes, you learn tunes. If you get called for a polka gig, yeah, do the polka gig. If you get called, if you get called to play mandolin, yeah, figure it out. If somebody says, "Hey, can you teach me another Taylor Swift song?" Yeah, you do it. I mean, just being open and being versatile. It's not that hard, but um, you know, being accepting of. So this is what I really think about playing, and I say this to all my students, is that, like, the music that I listen to, and the music, like, my friends, so like John Ventry shares a studio with me, teaching bass lessons, and the music that him and I talk about is, like, really out complex music. I don't expect anybody to waste any part of their day trying to absorb that kind of music, let alone coming out to see me play this wacky, complex stuff, right? So, like, if you don't judge your audience, if people want to hear Brown Eyed Girl and Sweet Caroline again, you give it to them, and you do it with the ability to be able to share a little bit of joy, and then go home in the car and listen to. I like Tim Miller, jazz guitarist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's the best thing I would say to anybody is just whatever your audience likes. Don't ever stick your nose at it. You know, and whether it's your students or whether it's the people that are requesting songs right in front of you. That's really the best thing you can do is appreciate the audience for no matter what they are.
Right.
I just played. So I tell you, I do the Poconos during the week, and some lady came up to me last week, and she gave me $2. She must have requested like 7 songs, right? I played them all, and I mean, she's requesting like, do you know any like everything all across the board? Some Motown songs, some pop songs, some rock songs, like just all over the map. She's got me. I'm like, yeah, actually, I know a lot of songs at this point, And so here I am playing them. She comes up and gives me a tip. She's like, here's $2. She goes, they should have had a comedian tonight.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm like, tomorrow's the comedian.
Yeah. Come back tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm like, right. If that stuff didn't make me laugh or make me want to share those stories, like, I don't know. Right. She was hammered. She had a good time. She was singing and dancing, me with my guitar. But then she's like, she thought about it. She's like, yeah, she's telling me. I'm like, oh man, that's just funny,
But that's so funny. Like you fulfilled all of her requests, and then she still wasn't happy
all
with
night
it.
long. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how I would have reacted to that. I don't know how I would. I don't know. Like I'm sure I would like handle it with grace, right? But like in the back of my head, I'm thinking like get the fuck out. Like,
I know. Yeah, man. Well, that's the truth, and I think that's your instinct. But I think like right. So from my point of view, right, that's ridiculous that lady did that. But from my point of view, I don't know what she's doing. She's on vacation. She's hammered. She's like, so I'm like, good. You know what? Good for her.
Yeah.
You're having a good time. I'll be a punching bag. I'll entertain you, and now I'll be a punching bag. Really doesn't.
Yeah. The venue paid you, and you got a nice little $2 tip.
Right. That's it. I took that $2, and I'm going to retire now. But yeah, I don't know. Me and Johnny Dressler used to do them together, and we had one guy. So John's got a can for tips, and like that like maybe they put Coronas in or something, right? And one time a guy came up and asked for a song, and then threw a tip in the can, and it was change, and it was just the loudest rattle. The two of us were just dying laughing. I'm like, did that guy just throw like 14 cents in your tip jar? Like, I don't know, so I don't know, that's the stuff, honest to God, I'm glad I get to do it because it makes me laugh. And right, it's like a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night or something, and I really am appreciative that I get to play as much as I get to play.
Yeah.
And then especially now because I do it, and who knows, like if it wasn't for the Poconos and wasn't for my weekly gigs and I was only doing the wedding things on the weekend, I don't know where else I would be getting to play. I mean, I do still do occasional bar gigs. This week I'm playing with Dustin. We still do the Proud Monkey thing.
I was going to ask
a
you
little
about
bit.
That. I mean, that has, I don't know how long that's been around for. It's been quite some time now, but like that has turned into a pretty successful, DMB tribute band.
Yeah, the band is so good, but the problem is there's so many of us, right? So it is hard to coordinate. I think all the people. I think so that makes it a challenge. But man, when we do play together, the band is so good. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with me. I'm like the Tim, so I'm just over in the corner making noise, but those guys are great. It's super fun to play with them. And so I don't know, like, I don't know when that all of us are playing again. I couldn't even tell you, but I know Dustin and I are playing on Friday, and I think maybe they're playing Dustin's got another thing on Saturday that might be a Proud Monkey gig, but a 5-piece. They're like, we do it like Dave does, so it's not always 7 of us.
Right.
Sometimes they just do the 5-piece.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy for that, man. That's a good gig, and yeah, it'd be cool if it was every Friday or something. But everybody's busy. That's the one thing I think about having a band full of musicians that are all full-time guys is that, especially in the summer when those gigs are available, we're all going, like all of us are trying to do wedding stuff.
Right.
Like that's where the money is, the drummer's in a wedding band, bass player's in a different wedding band, the horn player's in a different wedding band. It'd be one thing if we also were together on that, but but yeah, it is good. It is a good band.
Weddings are big business.
Yeah,
insane.
It is. And you know what? The funniest thing about it is this. It's the first time I felt like stability, right? Because I even have a 25 wedding on the books right now, and I still am taking 24 requests, of course. Like June is busy and September is busy, but it takes a while to fill up July and August, all the Saturdays.
Yeah.
But like this year, I have every Saturday, I think, except for like November 17th or something, I could tell you is the next Saturday I have off, because I'm going to try and run a marathon on the 18th if I can find one, but, but right, I have every Saturday booked, and even at the collectives, the height of our popularity when we were playing a ton, or the 5%, it's not that far out. So you would still be like, well, what if this club doesn't have us anymore? What if, this bar closes, right? Which happens. What if this bar that we are doing great at gets sold or has a new owner that doesn't like us? Because that's happened to us.
Yeah.
The collective one time showed up for a gig in Hoboken, New Jersey, and the club owner was different. And we started playing. He didn't know we were a hip hop band. He's like, he came up to us during the first set. He's like, I'm going to pay you guys, but you have to stop right now and go home. He's like, I can't. Yeah, I'm like, I can't have hip hop in my bar. So like, right. Like, who knows? Then we're never back there.
Yeah.
So the wedding thing, that's really the best thing about the wedding thing is the fact that I know, every Saturday for almost the rest of the year, I have work,
Yeah.
and then for a whole lot of Saturdays next year, I have work. It's a big deal for musicians.
For sure. Absolutely.
So, but
well, I think we covered all your musical endeavors. Who is Neil as a dad, as a father? Because I mean,
man,
I always like talking about that kind of stuff, because it's like, this is a chance to talk about the music, but also who people are as people, right? Like, behind the music.
Yeah.
And what's it like, having like the kids and having a dad who's a musician, like, there's two sides to that, right? It's cool because he's a musician, blah, blah, but he's also, weekends are kind of booked out and nights are kind of busy. What's that like?
So, yeah, it is hard. I try now. And so like, this is another thing the weddings have allowed me to do. So my summertime is crazy busy, the weekends, right? Of course, but I'm super conscious of all the time that we have free together, and so my daughter and I have things that we do together. And I try and, not only do we try and do a lot of family stuff, but I try and have separate things that I do with my daughter and separate things that I do with my son. So, so we have a different connection.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the winter, when I really try and just be dad all the time on the weekends, and as much as I can be. My son and I go to the gym together. We snowboard all the time together, and just right. I mean, it's like I'm just, until the kids are just like hiding from me, like, come on, let's do something. I'm like, every second that I'm off, I'm like, I'm harassing them to do anything, even if it's right, sit in my son's room and watch him play video games because I'm terrible at the games that he's good at,
Yeah.
but so we'll play one round, but yeah, and my son plays piano, my daughter plays guitar. They don't practice like they should, of course. But yeah, I just am, I just like that's just the super most important thing to me,
Right.
of course. So I just try and be uber present and
Yeah.
yeah, when I am and conscious of the fact that how busy I am, and so and I still just make it a point not to miss their soccer games and maybe my teaching lessons suffer from it a little bit. And of course Saturdays I'm booked, but any other day, of course
Yeah.
that's my main priority. It's the
Of
best,
course.
man. Being a dad is the best.
Dude, it really is. I wish I would have done it earlier, but I guess I'll
Yeah.
be the old guy at graduation.
Well, we did it kind of late too. I was 30. Um, yeah, I was 31, maybe 32. So not too different than
Yeah.
you.
So I was 35 and then 40. Well, almost 40.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Well,
wasn't
you're
the
talking about
plan.
the V. I just saw Vinny. You're talking about the V spot. He's got a little one. We were just at a graduation party
Dude, he's
together.
nuts. He's
I
nuts.
know.
I was just texting
He's
him
older
earlier
than us.
tonight. They're on vacation. A bunch
Yeah.
of them. Yeah, it's I'll never forget when he called me or he texted me or whatever. He said like that his wife was pregnant. I'm like, Vinny, you're way too fucking old for that, dude.
See,
I couldn't
uh-huh.
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, we were just at a graduation party together, and I said that to my wife. I'm like, "See, we could still have another one." She's like, "Get the hell away from me!"
Oh, see, my wife would probably
you
have
know.
another one if I was like into it, but I'm like, "Ah, no,
Uh,
financially, just like
yeah.
no, like I mean, we're talking about day like our son's going to kindergarten in the fall, and like that our daughter will
Oh
be going to
man.
daycare, and it's like, how is daycare so expensive? It's
Yeah.
insane. Like I get it. I mean, they're watching our kids and they're educating our children. It's not just like they're watching; they're doing stuff with them, which is great. I'm like, Jesus, like it's more than my car payments, like combined payments. It's just like it's
Right.
nuts. It's insane. But
Yeah. It is. It is. It's hard, but they got to do it. I mean, the kids
yep,
still have friends from daycare.
yeah.
My kids do. And it's just good. It's a good experience for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I'm so and I not that I'm not surprised that you're very present and involved with your children, but it's always like it's so good to like see just because like, they'll never remember you going to work when they're older. They'll just
Right.
remember you not being there if that was the case, right? But like
Right.
it's and I think I mean I can't speak for your dad and my dad is no longer with us, but like I think we're like there's generations that you just kind of like we're trying to break away from the the stoic fathers and like the fathers who didn't really weren't as involved as we are, I guess.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah. No doubt about it.
my dad, I knew he loved me, but like he was a man of very few words. Like I knew he was my father. I was his son. Like there was not a lot of communication. Uh,
Right.
Unfortunately, there started to become that once I finished college. I feel like he kind of like said to himself, like, okay, I did my job. He did well in school. He graduated college. Now we can be like buddies. And then I think he
Yeah.
passed away like 3 weeks after that.
Oh boy.
But yeah, it's just like it's. I just know how I am, and my kids will never not know how much that I love them. They'll probably to the point where they're like, "Dad, shut up."
I know. Yeah,
But
it's me too, man. I agree with you. For sure
yeah,
it's a generational thing. I think we rubber band it the other way for sure,
trying to, right?
like smother them with love and affection and attention and and
Yeah,
trying to be interested in what they're interested in and not just forcing them to do things and right, listening to their stories about whatever my daughter was talking about at dinner tonight. I don't know, she was rambling, but we're like totally engaged. Like,
yeah,
go ahead, finish your story.
yeah,
Like I don't know. That's good stuff.
yeah. It's fun.
But I
It's
don't know.
fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're funny.
but uh
I think
huh.
our daughter, she just turned a year old, and um, we have a cat. The cat's name is Mooch.
Uh-huh.
And we were calling the cat the other day. And she started calling out for the cat. So the cat's name is Mooch, like I said, and she doesn't say Mooch. She says moo, moo, like, but like she's attempting to call the cat. Like, to me, that's like not her first word, but she's saying the cat's name basically before she's saying mama, which has been great for my wife.
That's the best. That's
Yeah,
funny.
she's funny, and I think the second kid's always funny too because like they have somebody to look up to, and they see this other little human doing things, so they're like, oh well, like I need to do that, or I'm gonna try doing that. So they're automatically just kind of nuts because
Right.
they're fearless. Like they're like, oh well, if they're doing it, I can do it too. I mean,
Yeah.
my son's very like not shy, but like he's very I don't know, he'll just kind of analyze the room and just he's very like he's not like a narc, but he's like very like I don't want to get in trouble. Like I'm gonna do the right thing,
Right.
and just very like very just he's a kind kid, right? And I could tell already she's gonna be a handful just because this is how it's gonna go because that's what it is.
That's my kids too, man. That's the
Yeah,
second kid.
yeah.
I agree. I think that's a thing for sure. My son is much more cautious,
Cautious. That's the word I
and
was trying to use. Cautious was the word. Yep.
yeah. And my daughter, just right before we hooked up here, my daughter was down here, like who knows, making a cookie or something. Making there was stuff. The cabinets were she's opening this and opening that. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm getting on in a minute. She's like, oh, I know. I'm just, she's like, I'm making a cookie, and she's got carrots out. I'm like, what are you doing with the carrots? And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I see her like with the ice. I'm like, what are you? She's just nuts, just all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know. It's yeah, it's great, but they're polar opposites for
they
sure in a
are.
lot of ways.
Our son, like he like lived on the pacifier. Like the pacifier, the first 2 years of his life, you couldn't get rid of it. And our daughter hasn't had it since day one. Not interested in it, but like everything on the ground, she's like grabbing and trying to put in her mouth. Like I'm like, I said to my wife, like,
Yeah.
we never had this problem with Lincoln. She's like, yeah, because he had a pacifier in his mouth all the time. He didn't care to put anything in his mouth. Whereas
Right.
London, she's like, yeah, this little piece of paper on the floor, this is in my mouth now.
Let's try it. Let's try it. Oh man.
Oh, I don't know, man. But
Yeah,
it was
that's
good catching
good.
up with you.
Yeah, man. Good to talk
Been
to you too.
been a long time, and like I said, yeah, it's cool to talk about who you've been as a musician and kind of where you are today. And I mean, I don't need to tell you, but I think you should definitely be proud of the things you've created and the things you've been a part of, and um, you provided people with a lot of entertainment over the years and continue to do so. So
And thanks. I
pretty
appreciate
sweet.
it.
Yeah,
You know, I'm trying. I'm trying all the time.
got to keep pushing along, right? But
Yeah.
where can people find you if they want to check out your music or your wedding services and all that kind of fun stuff?
So I say mostly organized on Instagram.
Okay.
So if you just look up Neil Nicastro on Instagram, um, that's that's where I mean, I have a website. The website is nice, but I don't know who goes to the website. Nobody, right? And I repost everything to Facebook. Um, but that's it. I don't do anything with TikTok or anything. But Instagram is nice and organized. You really could see all my links. Of course, my music's all on Spotify. It'd be super cool if you checked it out, Spotify or YouTube or whatever. And yeah, but Instagram, check me out on there. It's everything is organized, especially the wedding stuff. I have some dates if anybody's getting married.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Well, I've already done that, and hopefully, I always said if that ever ends, I'm never doing it again.
yeah, right.
It can't end. I won't let it.
Yeah,
I told
yeah.
her. I said, if we ever get like divorced, like, can I still just like live in the same house? Because I can't imagine like not saying goodnight to our kids.
Right, right.
But
I know.
now what
That's the
they
truth.
say I outkicked my coverage. I've heard it since 2008. Like, wait a minute, blah blah blah. So I'm hopefully one day she won't get smart and realize that she could do a lot better.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, we just gotta keep showering them with attention and not
Yeah,
forget.
I figure if she hasn't left yet, I think I'm in pretty good shape. So
Yeah. You guys have how many years do you have in then? It's
It'll be well, we started dating in 2008. We got married in 2015. So we've been married for 8 and together for what is that, 15 years?
yeah, that's good,
So
man. That's a good long time. So my wife and I as well. Yeah, I think I just saw your happy anniversary post.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I are geez, 20 some years, you
Wow.
know.
It's
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah, we met. Yeah, it was in my band, the band I was in before the collective. We met at a party. Me playing
Yeah.
like a real rock star story.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
My biggest accomplishment as a musician.
Well, I it's
landing a hot chick.
yeah, well, hey, it's so I was at the Weekender and I was kind of in charge of the man and model of the week, and my wife was a model of the week, and that's kind of how we initially met.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah,
That's great.
and it's funny. I think I'm gonna try and do one of these with her. It's funny because I say that she fell into my trap, and she's like, "Bullshit! Like you fell into my trap." And I'm like, first of all, like, oh, so I still have like the MySpace. Like one night I came home from the bar, I had a little, I had some confidence, some liquid courage, I just shot her a message, and it kind of started there. And so I still have this. It's in a box somewhere. I have to find it because I want to like kind of read it and let people decide.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like I kept like I was always out at the weekend or doing nights out and things like that. And I'd be like, oh, I'm going here. Like if you want to meet up, and then she would show up. And then one
Yeah.
night I'm like, oh, I'm going here. If you want to meet up, and she would show up. And then she started staying over, and she never left. So,
Yeah,
and
that's
in
the
my mind,
best.
I'm like, yeah, this girl's way out of my league. Like it's only a matter of time before she like figures that out and
She
just
figures it out,
leaves.
right?
So I'm not gonna like try here. I'm just gonna be like, hey, if you want to meet up, let's meet up. And
Right.
15 years later, here we are.
That's great. That's
So
great.
I think she
The
fell.
softest the game, right?
Yeah, she fell into my trap. I think, but
Yeah,
we'll see
I
we'll
love
see
it.
what people think when I read it out loud.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll tune in. I appreciate you doing it, and I think it's super cool.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
You know, I think I speak for everybody. Like you guys are a huge part of the musical community. Just that's out like trying to help us because like I just said, a lot of us we get wrapped up in our own like work so hard on those tunes, but then like what's my promotion? I don't know what am I
Yeah,
doing, and so it's a huge deal that you help us out and give us a platform to say to do more than just play,
sweet. Well, I appreciate that.
so
That was the goal. So I'm glad people kind of utilize it and appreciate it. So if you guys keep joining me to talk, I'll keep doing it. So
yeah, awesome.
hopefully I'll see you out again. It's been what,
Yeah,
like you said, like 10 years or so. I may have seen
yeah,
you like playing somewhere from a distance, but yeah, we have never talked. I mean, we've never spoken at length like this. So it was
right.
good to hang.
Yeah, man, good to hang with you too.
All right, man. Well, hopefully I'll see you
And
soon.
all right,
All
thanks.
right, man.
Appreciate it.
Later. Yep.
See ya.
See ya.